Welcome to this week's Trader Hub market review. It's about 30 minutes after the weekly close. We're going to go ahead and get started here with the NASDAQ 100. For this week, we'll start on the weekly. We'll find that the weekly chart has shown this level to be tested now. That's looking real good. On the daily, we can see that this lower support here is what was held on Monday and produced this daily leg up, and it's just taken a little pit stop right there at about 15,700. We expect to see this coming week, we see this tested level, and we can call that gained and untested now that we're over here. So we do expect to see a little bit of a retracement before we see higher, but that higher is all the way up at 16,100. We'll also look at the 4-hour very briefly. You can see it's doing normal things, retracing back down to the support it had, and on the 4-hour we could see continuation. Let's move along. Here we are on the S&P 500. We've got this level here that we're going to mark as gained as well, and untested now that it has become support instead of resistance. We are here at this 4,537 level, and we'll mark that as tested. On the daily, we can see that we had a very similar pattern to the NASDAQ. It created the higher high here last week, and it held the support that was gained in here. And so that's why we see this leg moving up on the daily. We're seeing very similar price action for the last few 4-hour candles here. We could see this come down as well. This is some good support here that hasn't been tested. Those are two very good wicks that we'd like to see a little bounce and go off of. The next level on the weekly we'd be looking at is right in here at 46.38. That's where we would expect the next major stop. Let's move on to the Russell. On the Russell on the weekly, we have this big level that it's printing above here in just a few minutes. That's fairly significant. It is the level that was last trying to hold before it produced the leg down. So we would expect to see two closes up in this range and then higher. We'd expect to gain and achieve this here, since we've tested it once and then twice. And this is the level to gain before we can gain this one right here. Let's look on the daily. You can see how there could very easily be a retracement down to the support and then go higher. And you can see here on the daily how that concept of last chance of support is also playing out. So we would expect to see these highs here holding. And 4-hour, let's clean that up a little bit. You can see it's kind of losing the 4-hour here. So we would expect to see those daily levels as the next the next area of support, and it would be a little higher here at 1929. This is a weekly level that we're looking at, but anywhere in here is a place it could bounce off of on the 4-hour and daily. Moving along to the Dow, we see this consolidation happening here. It's really fighting these aggressive up and down wicks just in this block. This is the last month here. We can see that we need to gain that level and keep it in order to go higher. That level was the low that produced the high, so that's what makes it the most significant. You see that there were 2 closes above it, and then this retracement, and I'll hold at this lower level, which we like to see. So we are expecting continuation of this movement higher, and that'll happen as soon as we see closes up here. We'll retry all-time high. On the daily, we had the low come in, and it's already up above the previous level, above the previous high. So again, on the daily, we see continuation. So everything points towards continuing upward. And you can see how it's the 4 hours doing normal things too. Just coming down to the support that was gained from the high and continuing up. Let's look at gold. Gold on the weekly. We saw that it didn't quite come down to the 1880, the 1900, but it did hold. Let's see, this is actually looking better on the monthly here. You can see this level that it held the closes of. And we do see it trying to close up in the range that it was previously trying to support. But on the daily it did miss it. So we could expect lower on the daily. That may not happen this week because this is good support in here that could be found to hold, and it is possible that it would make its way back up over 1965 here to produce a new daily trend. But for the meantime, that was just a retracement, and a good place for shorts, as you can see, and it's kind of playing out here. You can see it, the 4 hours button against that level, and it's trying to gain it, but as of yet hasn't. So we'll see what happens here over the weekend. Here we've got oil. Oil was definitely interesting this week. It's starting to break out right here. We would expect to see oil making it close to $80, and I know that Prime Broker agrees with me. He put that in chat earlier. Now I know we were saying how we expected lower, and that was just because of these lower lows that we're seeing. We both agreed that while it was holding, it's not the most high probability of working in your favor when you see all these touches here hitting the support down here. But if you were to long it, you can see that this level here, which was tested resistance, has now become support on the daily. And some people would argue that that's tested right there, but I say not, because that is the candle that confirms it. So it can't confirm it and test the level in the same candle. need to have a retracement of some kind there. So we could see a bounce off of 74 or lower here, and lower would make a lot of sense because of how low it's been going previously. Lastly, on the Dixie. Dixie was the biggest mover this week. We did expect higher, and I'm going to go over my idea here and what happened and why it didn't work out. This was a weekly idea, as you can see the time frame. You can see this support here, and how it was trying to go up, and so that's why on the weekly, that's where I put the level to be gained, and we did see it make this low back at the beginning of the year and come back up and print 2 candles above. So the question is, why didn't it continue on? Well, first of all, the idea still played out in a big way. When you see these 2 closes above on any time frame, you want to put your trade idea at somewhere in this that makes the most sense for it to bounce. And this was the last place for that to happen, and it did to quite a big effect here. This is quite the movement. Now ultimately you would have been stopped out on a move like that when it came back against you, but this still, if you're managing your trades properly, works out to be a profitable trade. Now, why didn't it work out? Because you can see on the monthly, which on a big index like this, the dollar index, the monthly is what's in charge, and that's what we're seeing now. So we'd expect to see it come down to this monthly level that price has been interacting with for quite some time, almost a decade here. It was seen as resistance even here in March of 2022. Now we're going to see this become support. So it did do a little drop down. It is possible that this right here is the low. It is certainly possible that it goes up from here. But that is the significant level that we're looking for. And what we'll be looking for starting next week is to watch this trend and see what happens with it across the time frames. We'll see where price interacts and where it goes to understand which trend is in charge. And lastly, KRV. It's just doing a little bit more of testing these highs. If we do see right here that this resistance that we had that was tested is now support. And there was a gap there, so we could definitely see price come down there and continue on. This is definitely what we want to be seeing for longs. The only problem is that the volume doesn't seem quite there yet, but it does look good on the daily. The weekly doesn't look quite as good yet, even though we did have these 2 candles above the previous high, so that does explain why this low held inside of this large move here. So we are looking for up on the KRV, but that could also come with wicks that could go real low and continue up. Well, thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to click the link in the description to join our community Discord, where we talk about our trading ideas throughout the week. Have a great weekend.